Hare Krishna, welcome to Simply Wonderful Fridays. It is the eve of the annual ISKCON Dallas Ratha-yatra Parade, and we are fortunate enough to have His Grace Narottamananda Das Prabhu, who is going to be an engaging speaker on the topic of Jagannath Ratha Yatra, its history and significance. Narottamananda Das is a senior disciple of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He has served as the head priest at Dallas's Sri Sri Radha-Kalachandji temple and has taught Krishna Consciousness in China, as well as many, many other years of service. So perhaps we could hear a little bit about that as well this evening. And so we welcome you. I'm going to turn the mic over now.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. It's a pleasure to be here. My obeisances to all of you. And on this very auspicious occasion of Lord Jagannath's Ratha Yatra, I have a verse that I want to share with you. It's with all of you. It's one of my favorite verses. It's from the Ananta Samhita. It's not a very well-known scripture, but you've heard this description of Srila Prabhupada saying that even Ananta Shesh, with his thousands and thousands of hoods and mouths, goes on glorifying Krishna continuously for thousands and thousands of years, and still he hasn't reached the end of Krishna's glories. So there's verse spoken by Lord Ananta. It goes, Ya eva Bhagavan Krishna, Radhika Pranavallabha, Shrishtadosa Jagannatho, Gora Asin Maheshwari. Now, this is one of my favorite verses because it encapsulates all of the main deities that we worship in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. So, Ya Eva Bhagavan Krishna, right? Krishna Bhagavan. Then Radhika Pranavallabha, the life and soul of Srimati Radharani. Shrishtadosa Jagannatho, Lord Jagannath is the Lord of the universe in creation, maintenance, and annihilation. Gora Asin Maheshwari, and Lord, they appear, that Krishna appears as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Gora, O Maheshwari. So this is being spoken to the goddess Parvati by Lord Ashesh, Ananta Shesh. So I like this verse so much, and also it includes Lord Jagannath, who, you know, we rarely hear by name mentioned in, you know, as Juggernaut. Now, I want to begin a little bit with the history of Lord Jagannath's appearance, and which is beautifully described by Sanatana Goswami in the Bhagavatamrita, which has been so graciously published by the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. And in there, Sanatana Goswami, he describes the material and spiritual creation. And far beyond this material creation, which manifests during the exhalation of one breath of Lord Mahavishnu or Karanadaksha Vishnu, the millions and countless universes and planets, and far beyond this entire creation exists a ocean, which is also sometimes referred to as a river, the Karanadaksha ocean, and that's the ocean on which Mahavishnu lies down. On the Sheshnag bed, right? We're all familiar with that picture in Lakshmi Devi. She's massaging his feet. So Lord Mahavishnu,
Prabhu.
There we are. There I am. I'm back. Lord Mahavishnu lies down there, and then in a state of transcendental sleep, a state of sweet sleep, sometimes referred to by the devotees as sweet sleep dweep. Have you ever experienced sweet sleep dweep? So in that state, the Lord, from the pores of his skin, just like the perspiration of our bodies, countless universes appear. So that ocean, that Karanadakshay ocean, it divides the material world from the spiritual world. And then in the spiritual world, begins with a place called Haridam. So Haridam is the Shiva, and it both exists within the material side of the Karanadakshay ocean as well as in the spiritual side of the Karanadakshay ocean. But above that is the Vaikuntha planets, which are countless. And amongst all of those countless planets, which make up the spiritual world, there is the supreme planet, Goloka Vrindavan. That planet makes up 75% of the spiritual world, Goloka. And the spiritual world is compared to the material world to be 75% of the entire creation, and the material world is 25%. Now, Goloka Vrindavan is divided into 4 areas. There is Vrindavan, where Krishna appears and engages in his loving pastimes. In fact, Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, even for a millisecond. Krishna doesn't leave. And then there is Mathura, where the Lord exhibits his pastimes with the residents of Mathura and the Yadus. And then there is Dwarka, the divine ocean fortress and kingdom. And then there is also Navadvip, the abode of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So a simple example is given to understand the difference between these places and the appearance of Lord Jagannath is that of a high court judge and being in the courtroom. The example is given of a high court judge. Just like not too long ago, I had to go to court. Have you guys gone to court? Well, luckily, knock on wood, I was only there for jury duty. But you may have experienced this yourselves. Everyone's telling you to turn your cell phone off. So they have these like police walking around telling you to turn your cell phone off, and there's telling you to turn your cell phone off. And then even there's a sign above the door when you go in the courtroom flashing to turn your cell phone off. So, you know, I wore my dhoti, and because I thought, oh, they'll never pick me because I'm a Hare Krishna, and that way I could just, I guess I'm not a very upstanding citizen. No, really, I mean, you know, it's just one of those things. For me, to just be at the temple and chant, you know, talk about Krishna. So, but anyway, so we all go into the courtroom, and the system is that the judge comes in and everyone stands up. So the judge comes in, and the judge is a woman like you, Sri Rupa. Just like you. So everybody stands up, right, to give our deference, you know, our respect to her. And then the first thing she says before anybody sits down is, if anyone's cell phone rings, I'm going to fine you $50. As soon as she said that, her own cell phone started ringing. Everybody started laughing. Even she started laughing. And so she said, okay, all right. I'll give $50 to my favorite charity. Now make sure your phones are off. This is an important case. All right, so the example is given of the high court judge, now man or woman. And, so the judge is given so much respect and recognition, deference, for their power and their, ability to make decisions that can alter our lives. But that same judge, when she goes home, say she may play with her kids, and the kids are climbing on her back and telling her, giddy up, and they're spanking her, right? And she's acting like a pony. So the judge actually enjoys that intimate love even more than the respect that she's given in the courtroom. So in the same way, Krishna, he exhibits different aspects of his personality to endear different relationships with him amongst the devotees and to attract different devotees. Just like, I don't know if you can recall this, but when Krishna lived in Dwarka, and this is where he first appeared as Lord Jagannath, he married 16,108 queens, right? I mean, that's pretty common, right? And there were 16,108 palaces, all, divinely created by Vishvakarma as a service to Krishna, the architect of the demigods. And Narada Muni went from palace to palace, and in each palace, Krishna was performing different activities. Like in one palace, he was playing chess with Balaram. In one palace, he was playing with his kids. In another palace, he was having dinner with his wife. And which Narada Muni pointed out that this shows that Krishna is Yogeshvara, the supreme yogi, because normally these mystic cities of the yogis, these different perfections of yoga, one of them is that a yogi can multiply his form into 8 different forms, maximum into 8 forms. And but all of those forms have to do exactly the same thing. Just like say if you put 8 televisions, and if you were in Walmart or somewhere and you turned on 8 televisions on the same station. So the yogis, the best they can do is to manifest these 8 forms, but they all do identically the same thing. Whereas Krishna, he can manifest unlimited forms, countless forms, and each form is completely independent. And not only that, but when Krishna, he expanded himself each night when he would come home into 16,108 forms, and each form he exhibited all of the qualities and special attributes of beauty and personality and affection that each queen was most intensely in love with. So one of the times, so now let's talk about that example one more time, so that we have the judge in the courtroom. Now, according to Sanatana Goswami, Krishna manifests 2 major aspects of his personality. One of them is Madhurya. Madhurya means sweetness. And the other is Aishvarya. Aishvarya means majesty, power, greatness. So in Dwarka is dominated by Aishvarya, where there is still an understanding that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So, and in Vrindavan, Krishna is manifesting Madhurya. of course, sometimes Krishna is manifesting Aishwarya in Vrindavan too. He lifts Govardhan Hill, like, what a special kid, like but, but, predominantly this difference is given. Now, if you think about it in terms of our, immediate human experience, right? Our daily life, you can imagine, right? Like there's all this talk about war now and all these arms and soldiers. So you can imagine, right? If a powerful soldier walked into the room you're in right now, and he was all dressed up with all that armor and those infrared glasses and all these weapons and knives and these missile launcher, whatever, all of that stuff. So the question is, how would you feel? You have to unmute to answer this.
Afraid.
How would you feel?
I would feel afraid.
Afraid, right? You'd be like, yes sir, no sir, yes sir, no sir, right? Whatever you want. Or you'd be thinking about just hightailing it, right? Like running away. Oh my God, I hope this guy is a nice soldier, not one of these, corrupt soldiers, and then, so in the same way, Lord Vishnu, or the Lord in Dwarka and in Mathura, is manifesting Aishwarya, right? He's got his armor on, he's carrying divine weapons like this, cut off everybody's head, and all of that stuff, the powerful mace, and he's got those like fiery eyes, and so there's this natural feeling of awe and reverence that's created by that. I lost you guys. I don't see anything on the screen anymore. Did someone come?
No, we're here.
Okay, so here's the thing. I need to see somebody, otherwise it's hard to talk. Sorry, Rupa. So, just like,
please pay attention to the road. Maybe you should.
Oh yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. So, so the soldier, right, creates that sense of fear and respect and reverence, just like the judge in the courtroom. Now, and that's the position of the Lord in Dwarka. But the relationship of the devotees with Krishna, when he's manifesting his supreme Godhead, his supreme, potencies as a Chinta Shakti, is one generally of awe and reverence. And because of that, there is a division, there is some separation between the Lord and the devotees. Their love is not as intimate. And on account of that, the Lord is not as satisfied. So what happens is, even Lord Vishnu, even Lord Dwarkadish, even Maturnath, they constantly hanker for that intimate love more than the respect and deference than he's given as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But what's really interesting, I just want to throw this into this, and then I'm going to talk directly about Lord Jagannath appearing, is that the devotees, whenever they're with Krishna, they feel fully satisfied. Now, later this is described by Rupa Goswami in his play. I hear all this noise like a microphone getting bumped around. Is that me?
No, I think somebody was unmuted, Prabhu. I muted them.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry.
No problem. thank you for coming and listening. So what happened, Rupa Goswami goes further. For example, the Sanatana Goswami explains the foundation of all spiritual relationships and the different feelings that the devotees have. And then Rupa Goswami, he further explains that. And in particular, he wrote two super excellent dramas, the Lalita Madhava and the Vidagdha Madhava. So just a little history about those books, those dramas, is that Rupa Goswami, him and Sanatana Goswami, they were specifically empowered by Lord Chaitanya directly to disseminate Prema Bhakti, to teach us what it means to completely love the Lord with spontaneous feelings of devotion and unbroken, uninterrupted service. So he was planning to write all of Krishna's pastimes, the whole historical, a recount of Krishna's pastimes. But he was going to Vrindavan after meeting Lord Chaitanya, and he went to a place called Satyabhama for goddess Satyabhama to Rupa Goswami, of course. And she told him that I want you to separate the pastimes of Krishna and write two dramas, not one drama. And write one drama about me, and I will bless it so that it is super excellent and extraordinary in every way. And then write the other drama about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. So these two dramas were written, following the order of Satyabhama. Rupa Goswami, he divided his work and created these two books. And this literature, in fact, all of the six Goswamis' literature is based on Srila Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And okay, I don't want to go into too many details because, but I'll talk about the pastimes of Lord Jagannath. So what happened is, so we have this example of the judge in the courtroom and the judge at home. And the judge at home loves and is more satisfied with the affection, intimate affection of the judge's family members or children and friends or lover than the respect that the judge receives in the courtroom. So the Lord in Dwarka and Mathura is the Lord in the courtroom, showing his majesty, showing his opulence, his magnificence. And Krishna in Vrindavan is the Lord at home. Just like I give you a simple example, just like I don't know who else is listening out there, but my obeisances to you guys. And you Prabhu, Mataji's. So just like if you ask a Hindu woman, right? Say a Brahmin Hindu woman, you ask her, who is Lord Vishnu's mother? Okay, Sri Rupa, you have to take the place of a Hindu. Oh, you already know all this. I can't ask you. So who is the mother of Lord Vishnu? Who's the mother of Lord Brahma? Who's the mother of Lord Shiva, right? We don't think of them in terms of their intimate relationship with their family members, right? We think, oh, this is God. This is Mahadev, the supreme demigod. Yes, we talk about him with Parvati and things, but it's always, at a distance. So, but when we talk about Krishna, who is Krishna's mother? we immediately think Mother Yashoda, right? Devaki Nandana, Yashoda Nandana, you see? So now the question comes many times as well, is Vishnu supreme or is Krishna supreme, right? Because Vishnu seems to be God and Krishna seems to be a kid or a youth, a playful youth, right? Like, I was asking you how you'd feel if the soldier walked in with all these weapons and everything, right? And was really formal. Now, let's think about if some really like adorable young, I don't know what you want to call it, like a youthful young coward boy with like beautiful eyes and really soft curly black hair, and he was really like funny and but kind of like had this like very loving nature that just and he was dressed really like in a very exotic way, and peacock feathers in his hair, and he had a pet cow and a dog, and he was eating sweets and he was sharing the sweets and he was making jokes with you. Then how would you feel?
I would feel filled with joy.
You feel like giving him a big hug, right?
Yeah.
Hey, there's somebody popped in. Oh, someone. Oh, no, that's another thing. Right? So, yeah, that's the difference. But people get confused because there's so much information in the Vedas about Lord Vishnu and all this universes and all these demigods and all of this stuff going on, lifting mountains and, killing demons and all this stuff. And then Krishna is just like, right? Even, do you like butter?
Yes.
Like if there's no butter, like the food just is like so dissatisfying to eat. Butter is like the ultimate, when you really think about it. But anyway, let's just say butter is reality. No, I'm just joking. So yeah, so Krishna, he's that beautiful, loving boy, and he's so accessible. But all this information is given so that we don't take Krishna for granted. We don't think like he's an ordinary person, like like we have to like, wow, not only is he like beautiful and affectionate and everything I could ever hope for in a relationship with anybody, but he's also the ultimate shelter of everyone. And that gives us like a lot of satisfaction, a lot of satisfaction, especially in the material world. Everything is so precarious and unsettling and evasive and even dangerous. So, but knowing that Krishna is that ultimate shelter, that no matter what happens, Krishna is going to, protect me and love me and do the best for me and help me and guide me. That makes the relationship so much deeper because it frees us from all of those misgivings and doubts and apprehensions and that judging that just pollutes our relationships. Not that judging is bad, but anyway, that's another topic. But I mean, in a loving relationship, that's something we really don't want to have, and not only that, but Krishna loves us more than his own life and soul. So, to understand that is to deepen our love for Krishna and to free us from all of the misgivings that we have in our relationships in this material world. Now, what happened once is Krishna was in Dwarka, right? And he's being worshipped by everyone. But you might not know that Dwarka, not only is there 16,108 palaces made out of gold with, huge chandeliers and pearls and all these thrones filled with jewels and, all these like water fountains and beautiful gardens with swans from the heavenly planets are there. It's really interesting, right? When Krishna and Satyabhama went to Indraloka, she wanted a Parijata tree. And when Krishna brought back the tree, he had to fight with Indra. God, Indra is always just, I don't know why he tries to give Krishna a hard time all the time. But anyway, when they finally, Krishna took the tree for Satyabhama, when he was flying back on the back of Garuda from heaven to Dwarka here on earth, the fragrance of the Parijata flowers from that tree were so intoxicating that the divine swans of heaven followed Krishna and Satyabhama, thousands of them, and they resided in Dwarka, and the ponds became filled with divine swans and lotuses, and fragrance wafted through the air everywhere. And so now Krishna was there, and everyone is worshiping him. What's another thing I think is really interesting about this pastime is that Krishna, in the morning when he goes to work, right? He goes to that, what is the name of it? The Suvarna assembly house. It was created by this mystical demon. And it looked like water, looked like stone, and stone looked like water. You might remember the pastime Duryodhana fell in the water because he didn't know the secrets of this assembly house. And then all the queens started laughing, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj wanted to stop them from laughing, and Krishna said, no, go ahead and let them laugh. To make Duryodhana so angry. Anyway, so what I thought was really interesting about this pastime is in the morning, all the 16,108 forms of Krishna come out of the palaces, and then they all come together in one form, and then that one form goes to the assembly, to like the what would be an example of that, like the Capitol building, to meet with the Pandavas and the other leaders of the Yadu dynasty and discuss their plans and discuss how to rule the world. So now, on one occasion, Krishna, he was feeling immense separation from Vrindavan. This happened quite regularly. In fact, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this before, but like say your husband, wife, or somebody that you love, starts talking in their sleep. Have you guys ever experienced that? Somebody that you're sleeping by you, or, you walk in the room and they're talking in their sleep. So Krishna, he'd be sleeping, but he'd be calling like sometimes the name of Radha, or he'd be saying different things. And, the queens, they really didn't like that, that Krishna was talking about someone else and not them. So what happened is the queens, not only did they hear Krishna talking in his sleep and calling out the name of Radha, but also he always seemed as if he was completely distracted, kind of like, it would be like something like, nowadays you see, like, I don't know, maybe you even experienced this with your husband, wife, or your friend or somebody, you go to do something with them and they're constantly looking at their cell phone and not, they're totally distracted by their cell phone. It's very like unsettling, even annoying. And so yeah, the queens were feeling like that, and they couldn't figure it out. They would do everything to dress themselves more beautifully, to show more love to Krishna, to do more different things for Krishna, and special things for Krishna. But somehow Krishna was always distracted, as if he was always thinking of someone else or something else. So they didn't know what to do, and finally they went to Queen Rohini, Lord Balaram's mother, and they asked her, because see, Rohini Maharani, she was in Vrindavan when Krishna was living there, right? You remember, she was hidden there. That's where Balaram was born. And so anyway, they went to Rohini and they asked her, why is Krishna like that? So she said, one day when Krishna is not around, then I'll tell you. So I was describing Dwarka, right? And in Dwarka, not only are the palaces and the gardens and the celestial swans and the parijata flowers and all this cool stuff going on, and everybody is exotic and beautiful and loving, and but not only that, but there's also one place that was built, which is called Nava Vrindavan. And there, Vishvakarma, he built an exact copy of Vrindavan, Gokul Vrindavan, Govardhan Hill, the Jamuna River, everything is there. In a garden, which is just on the outskirts of Dwarka. And whenever Krishna is feeling a lot of separation from Vrindavan, he'll go there. There's, you know, what's really interesting also are there are statues there, because Vishwakarma, he couldn't recreate the residents of Vrindavan because their love is unparalleled. Even Vishwakarma really has very little access to understanding their love for Krishna. You remember, right? Krishna sent Uddhava to Vrindavan to bring a letter to Radharani, and he was dumbfounded. Even though he's considered to be the greatest devotee of Krishna in Dwarka, he had never experienced the type of love that the gopis and the residents of Vrindavan have for Krishna. You might not know this, but for example, Mother Yashoda, she had many ovens and she would cook so many things for Krishna, and she was so loving to Krishna. But when Krishna left Vrindavan, Mother Yashoda, she cried day and night until she went blind. And Prabhupada comments that there is no example of such intense motherly love throughout the annals of human history. There's never that type of love, that level of love, that a mother being separated from her son cried continuously until she went blind in the history of the world. So Krishna, when he was feeling separation, he'd go there, and there were all these statues, and there's beautiful pastimes written by Rupa Goswami about these. Krishna even pretending to be one of the statues. But anyway, I don't want to tell you all these details, but one of the things that happened right now, it'll just take forever if I tell you everything. But one of the things that happened is Krishna and Balaram went to Nava Vrindavan, or New Vrindavan is the English, you know, equivalent to that, Nava Vrindavan. And he was in that garden. And then at that time, the queens of Dwarka went to Rohini and said, Krishna's not here. You know, can you tell us about what happened and why Krishna is so distracted like this? So they created a secret meeting. And Rohini Devi, she asked Subhadra to stay at the door, right? Balaram's and Krishna's sister Subhadra. So we have Krishna, Baladev, and Subhadra. So Subhadra, right, she was later married to Arjun, and she's a very famous divine personality in the pastimes of Krishna. And she is expansion, or she is the Yoga Maya potency of the Lord. And so she was asked to stay at the door and to inform them if Krishna had come, so that Krishna wouldn't hear them talking. So as they were meeting, Subhadra was at the door listening, and Rohini Devi was describing all of Krishna's pastimes in Dwarka. I'm sorry, in Vrindavan. And about Mother Yashoda's love, about Nandan Baba's love, about all the cowherd boys and they're all their friends, and the calves and the cows and the gopis. And then she started to describe the love that Srimati Radharani has for Krishna. And when while she was doing that, some of Krishna's servants, they found out that they were having a secret meeting about Krishna. So they ran to Nava Vrindavan, and they told Krishna, they're having a secret meeting. We don't know what it's about. You better come and find out. So Krishna and Balaram came. And when they came there, they saw that Subhadra Devi had entered into a state of ecstasy that had completely transformed her body. And so Krishna and Balaram, they started to listen, like the old cliche, where you put a cup up to the door with your ear against it, so you can use the cup as some kind of like ultra microphone or some type, where you can hear inside the room and hear what people are saying about you. So Krishna and Balaram started to hear what Rohini was saying about Radharani's love, and then they also exhibited these forms. Their eyes became very big. They exhibited this huge smile of complete, satisfaction of the body, mind, and soul, of unlimited, selfless, and pure love. And not only that, but their legs, their arms and legs shrunk into their bodies, and they were all on the ground in this ecstatic form. It's called, name of the form is Karma Rupa, like the form of a tortoise, like that a turtle can withdraw its arms and legs within the body. But it's invoked by Vipralamba Bhav. Vipralamba Bhav is the intense feelings of separation from Krishna and the residents of Vrindavan. And so this is how the form of Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra originally appeared. And there's a whole beautiful pastime about what happened after this. But just to move things forward quickly, because I know we're already running out of time here, is Lord Chaitanya, he celebrated this, the feelings of intense love between Radha and Krishna when they were separated in the Ratha Yatra. So the festival of Ratha Yatra is actually Krishna using an excuse of a eclipse, a solar eclipse, and going to Kurukshetra to bathe, and because traditionally, right, place the divine waters there and chant the holy names to protect yourself from the inauspicious effects of an eclipse. And he knew the residents of Vrindavan were going there to also bathe. And so he used it as an excuse to be able to meet the residents of Vrindavan and ultimately Srimati Radharani again. And the Ratha Yatra is the reenactment of Krishna meeting with Srimati Radharani in the feelings of intense separation from her love, and Radharani trying to pull his chariot along with him back to Vrindavan. Because Radharani, she wasn't interested in that mood of respect or his army or his elephants or all of his jewelry or his fancy clothes or palaces. She just wanted Krishna and nothing else. She just wanted to be reunited with Krishna on the banks of the Jamuna, under the Kadamba trees, under the full moon, with her intimate friends. And they share their deepest feelings of love with one another. So Lord Chaitanya and the Gaudiyas, they've been celebrating this. Lord Chaitanya was so enthralled by it. And there is so much to this history. Actually, our Guru Maharaj, he wrote this beautiful drama, Jagannath Ratha, which was based on a scripture called the Bharat Shastra. So as it turns out, the demigods at the time of creation of the universe, they approached Lord Brahma and asked for a form of entertainment. And so Lord Brahma, he commissioned this great sage, Bharat Muni, to create a form of recreation. And Bharat Muni wrote the science of Sanskrit drama. And this science, which is it's really beautifully depicted in the original hardbound copy of Jagannath Ratha-yatra by Tamal Krishna Goswami. But Bharat Muni, he describes 196 different emotions that a advanced spiritualist can experience. And Rupa Goswami took that and he unearthed the original spiritual manifestation of those 196 different emotions in relationship to Radha and Krishna. And Rupa Goswami, like in the, for example, in the Nectar of Devotion, he gives you an example. He gives you the definition of what he's trying to teach in terms of these, our relationship and our feelings for Krishna. And then he gives you an example of it. So my Guru Maharaj did the same thing. And he did that in relationship to the history of Lord Jagannath appearing in his wooden deity form. So I just told you now about the original form of Jagannath appearing in Dwarka out of intense feelings. And then there is the wooden deity form, the appearance of Jagannath as a deity for us to worship. And that manifestation is beautifully depicted in this drama of Tamal Krishna Goswami, Jagannath Ratha-yatra. In fact, the one of the professors of Harvard wrote that that Tamal Krishna Goswami's work on Jagannath shows that Sanskrit drama is the most advanced and elevated fine art known to man. So, and in there, we find the history of the great king Indradumna. So just to kind of draw closure here, what I want to say is that Indradumna, he was the emperor of the world, and yet he was feeling dissatisfied. And he was thinking that no matter what I have, no matter how big my army is, how much wealth and prestige I have, no matter what, how opulent my city, his city was called Avantipur. Um, it is, and no matter how joyous the citizens are, still within the core of my heart, I'm longing for my relationship with that supreme person, the supreme personality of Godhead. And it's a beautiful, beautiful history. And that history focuses on the deity of Lord Nilamadeva, which in Houston, of course, we have Sri Sri Radha Nilamadeva. And as that history unfolds, the Lord's love is invoked in separation from Nilamadeva because Nilamadeva disappears. And it's a beautiful pastime. And it involves the Indradyumna Maharaj's closest associates and the devotees of Lord Nilamadeva. What finally ends up happening is Lord Indradyumna, he is taken from Earth to the planet of Lord Brahma, and there's a time warp. And for example, Lord Brahma lives for 311,432,000,000 of our years. So if you go to Brahma Loka, where Lord Brahma is, even for a moment, thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of years will go past on Earth. So what ends up happening is the Lord tells Indradyumna that I will appear in this wooden form to you. And that form was carved unknown to the king in this ecstatic form of Korma Rupa Vipralamba, the form of Lord Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. And what's really quite unique about the whole history of the deity of Lord Jagannath is the actual temple was built and everything was built, and Lord Indradyumna went to Brahmaloka, and when he came back to earth, everyone was dead. Everyone that he knew was gone. And nobody even really, they said, oh, that king Indradyumna, he had passed away thousands and thousands of years ago. In fact, the temple he had built for Lord Jagannath was completely covered under the sand. Imagine that, right? Huge, like a temple, like a skyscraper, so completely covered under the ground from so much time passing. It's hard to imagine that. But what ends up happening is all of the devotees, they reincarnate when Indradyumna Maharaj reappears, and all of them come together again, and Lord Jagannath appears to them. And they celebrate this great festival of Jagannath Ratha Yatra. And then by Lord Jagannath's grace, everything is revealed to them, how they are all eternal associates and servitors of the Lord, and how they all have pure, loving relationships with the Lord and with one another based on their friendship and their feelings for one another. And it's such a divine reunion and exhibition of the Lord's causeless mercy to appear within this material world to reclaim his eternal loving devotees. So we're going to have that chance tomorrow to see the pastime, to witness this pastime of Lord Jagannath's Ratha Yatra. I'm going to give you just two quick stories that I know personally. I got to meet the king of Jagannath Puri. He came to Mayapur. It was the first time any king of Jagannath Puri had come, a descendant of Maharaj Pachaparudra. And he came to meet our Guru Maharaj Tamal Krishna Goswami. And it was a really superb and super excellent talking and hearing him speak about Lord Jagannath. And one of my godbrothers who grew up, he was born in Bhubaneswar. He was but they moved to Jagannath Puri, so he knows all the pujaris and everybody involved in the Jagannath temple there. And one of the things that happened was there was a political I don't know what you want to call it. It's not like a fight, but anyway, it was a political when when one group loses, the other group wins. There's a name for it. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a block. I'm trying not to be political here. Anyway, what happened was the king was told by the Communist Party. The Communist Party had taken over Orissa at that time and part of West Bengal. And they blocked the king from going to the Ratha Yatra because traditionally the king would sweep the road in front of the Ratha Yatra cart. So, he's given it like a golden broom, and he acts as a simple servitor of the Lord to show that even the king is actually a servant of the Supreme. And so the Communist Party said that the king, and then the temple, the Jagannath temple will give the king some amount of money. I don't know what it was, like 100,000 rupees or something. I mean, it was like giving him $100,000. Like the king, like Jagannath is so great, so wealthy, so gracious. That even someone comes and sweeps before him, he's given a huge amount of money. It's kind of like what would it be like? It'd be like say somebody like Michael Jackson, went to a hotel and everybody ran around and did things for him, and then he gave everybody, $100,000 tip or something like that. Anyway, this is all part of the culture, and but the communists blocked the king and said no, he can't go, he won't go, he doesn't need this 100,000 rupees or whatever, and so for the Ratha Yatra started, but then they couldn't move the Rath carts. And for 3 days, they tried to move the Rath carts. They had all the people pulling the carts. They had the army come there, try to pull the connected to the, and this is the same description that Chaitanya Charitamrita that happened to Lord Chaitanya. And you might recall, Lord Chaitanya came with the Sankirtan devotees, and Lord Chaitanya just put his head onto the cart, and the whole cart started to move, like Lord Chaitanya was pushing the cart itself. I don't know if you've seen photos or if you've actually seen those carts, but they weigh tons. They're massive. So what happened finally is all the head pujari of the temple and all the devotees there in Puri, they didn't, they said, well, what's different? They said, the only thing that's different is that the king is not here. So they called the king, and the king came, and they have like this kind of like, it's a walkway that goes up to where Lord Jagannath is. So that different people the devotees can come up and offer obeisances, and the pujari, there's a culture there where you hug Juggernaut. And the king came up onto the cart, and he was crying because the cart hadn't moved for 3 days, and they didn't know what to do. And the king came up on the cart, he offered obeisances, dandavats, laid down flat, and then he got up with tears in his eyes and he hugged Jagannath. And as soon as he hugged Jagannath, the cart started moving. And there's so many beautiful stories like that. Like another story that I really like, that I heard was the head pujari at the Jagannath temple. They have a lot of interaction with the deities, like the pujaris and the king and different devotees in Puri. But on one occasion, the head pujari was sleeping, and Lord Jagannath came to his bedroom and woke him up. So the pujari was like shocked, like, my lord, what are you doing here? And he said, oh, I want you to come with me. I want to go and steal some mangoes from the king's garden, you know? And he said, but, my lord, you know, if I just ask the king, he'll give you as many, all the mangoes in the garden that you want, you know? And Jagannath tells the pujari, no, you don't understand. He said, mangoes, they taste much better when they're stolen, which I thought was hilarious. Anyway, then they went to the king's garden, and Jagannath told the pujari, you go up and climb up in the tree, one of the trees, you know, because the mangoes up at the top of the tree, they get sun ripened, and they're the most tasty. So he said, you go up there and then toss them down to me, and I'll catch them, like that. So the pujari climbed up in one of the trees. Mango trees are huge. He got up in the tree, and when he got up in the tree, there was a guard at the king's garden, right? And he heard the pujari up in a tree. And so he came over there, right? Like, to see what it was, if it was a thief or what it was. And as soon as he started coming close, Jagannath disappeared. And this pujari is like up in this tree in his pajamas, right? Like, and the whole thing was described by the pujari to the king, and to the guards and everything like that. And then from then on, they offered mangoes to Juggernaut during the mango season, the best ripe mangoes to Juggernaut, which I thought was really a sweet pastime. I happen to be a big fan of mangoes. Another one I heard, these are all like recorded histories. Like there's this one I'm going to tell you now was recorded in the history, the government history of Jagannath Puri. So the kings, he was a great devotee. They were all devotees. Like, if you look at kings' pictures in like Orissa, Jaipur, different places, you'll see there's like oil paintings of them. And like every king that you see, they'll have a bee bag on, like these bee bags that we wear, and which is really interesting to me. But what happened was, this king, he loved kirtan more than anything. So he would just have kirtan all the time for Lord Jagannath with the army. Like all the army, they didn't learn how to fight. They just learned how to play kartels and mridungas, and and how to sing and dance and everything. And they would just do kirtan all the time. And then there was this Mughal king who wanted to attack Puri, Jagannath Puri. And what happened was the king didn't know what to do, because none of them really knew how to fight. But like, they can't cower against and just let an invader come in, and take over. So they decided, okay, well, let's just take the weapons. We'll go there. We'll just depend on Juggernaut. What else can we do? So there were these two messengers that went ahead. I mean, in those days, they have the messengers that go ahead. I mean, you might have seen this kind of stuff like the Spartans and all that, where they got these messengers that go ahead and, and they proclaim, the greatness of their king, and how their king, they're like, if they ask the opposing king to be submissive and, take a subordinate position and all of that, and then there's usually a war. So these two messengers went ahead. One was riding a black horse, one was riding a white horse. And, they were all dressed up in their armor and everything, with really cool, helmets with that kind of, I don't know what that is on their helmets. What is that? Like like a chamra fan, like the yak's tail or something. Anyway, they were all decked out, and they were going along the way to the other kingdom to tell the Muslim king, that we're going to fight. And they were getting thirsty, and there was a lady. She was selling dobs, you know, the coconuts, the green coconuts, the coconut water. And so they stopped there and asked her for some dobs. And so they drank a couple of dobs, and then they she asked them to pay, and then he said, oh, you know, we dressed up to fight, and we didn't bring any money. And she said, oh my God, I can't believe you're telling me this. She said, no, 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 the king is coming right behind me, and he'll pay you, don't worry, just tell him his messenger stopped here. So what happened was, she said, well, how will he know, you know, that I'm telling the truth? And one of the messengers, he had a ring, a special, a unique ring, you know, and he said, here, take this ring and show this ring to the king, and for sure he'll pay you, don't worry about a thing, you know. And so she said, okay, okay, and so she took it. And then the two messengers, they went ahead, and they got to the battlefield where this opposing king was. And so, you know, usually they line up in these huge lines. I mean, even today you see that, right, with all the tanks and everything. So they line up in these lines, and then the king will send down like you know, some of his messengers to meet the opposing army's messengers, you know, to find out whether they're surrendering or not, right? But when he did that, when he did that, an argument broke out amongst the messengers, and then the two messengers from the king from Puri, they just cut off their heads. Oh my God, you know. And like the king, the opposing king was so surprised, you know, like normally that never happens, but you know, amongst messengers. But so the king sent down like a whole infantry, like I don't know what you call it, a battalion, you know, where you just got about like 20 soldiers in it. And they went down and they started fighting with the messengers, and the messengers killed them. And then, you know, the king started to attack these messengers with like his whole army, and the messengers ended up killing everybody except for the king, and they left that king there. And then they just rode off, you know, into the clear blue sky. No, what do you call it? You know, when you ride off into the sunset. So then the king from Puri was coming with his army, you know, and they were all worried, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then the lady stopped them about the dobs. And the king said, I didn't send any messengers. What are you talking about? She said, oh my God, I knew this was going to happen. She said, anyway, he gave me this ring to show you so that you'd pay me. So then the lady who was selling the dobs, she shows the ring, and that ring was actually given as an offering to Lord Jagannath by the queen. It was like a special ring that was given by her father or some, you know, when they were married. So that ring was like a royal, you know, offering to Lord Juggernaut that no one had a copy of. You know, it was unique. The jewel, the design, the whole thing was specifically that, you know, known as that divine ring, that royal ring. And so the king told this lady, you are the most fortunate person in all three worlds, you know, and he gave her a whole bunch of money, and you know, and everything. And then they went ahead, and then they got to the battlefield, and the whole other army was dead, and just that one king was there. he surrendered and told them, you know, that oh my God, your messengers killed my whole army, you know, I'm like totally submissive to you, like whatever you need, whatever you want, just if you need anything from me, just ask me, you know. So I thought that was a really unique pastime. Anyway, I'm going to stop you guys. Hare Krishna Prabhus, I hope, you know, that gave you a little bit of insight. I wish I knew more, it could help more to deepen our understanding. But I'm gonna stop here. I don't know if you have any questions or comments,
Prabhu,
but
thank you
that's,
so much. It was so enlivening listening to you as if you were retelling the pastimes of a true intimate friend. It's beautiful. Your joy and your expression is amazing. If any of the dear devotees have any questions, comments, appreciations that they would like to express, please feel free to unmute. Bhagavan Narada Prabhu, please unmute.
Haribol Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
My obeisances.
I have a question. We have the Raj. He visited San Antonio some years back, and we got to meet him. The Raj of Mayapur, or no, Mayapur, Orissa, Jagannath Puri.
Okay.
So there's a thing where he says that it's offensive to have your Rath Yatra any other time besides the date in Jagannath Puri. He gives like 1 week or two, buffer. But if you have it like in November or October, it's offensive to Jagannath Puri. So like, why don't we follow that?
Well, I guess he told it to you. You better worry about it.
He didn't tell it to me. He told it to one of the local Hindus.
He didn't tell me that, so I'm not going to worry about it.
But what have you ever heard of that before? Do you think there's any sort of...
Oh my God, Narada Prabhu, if we followed all these rules and regulations, we'd all go nuts. We'd all just drop dead, Like, I mean, oh my God, you got to be a king to make a statement like that. I can't even go outside in July, I'm such a spoiled American guy, like, I mean, in July, walking around, outside pulling the wrath card. I mean, it's just like, oh my God, I'll just watch it on Zoom. No, it's just too hot here. We have to take into consideration also preaching and, the situation that we have also, I mean, yes, all those principles are really good to know, but we also have to take into consideration preaching and time, place, and circumstance. Just like they did the Ratha Yatra here in Dallas during March, the first year. And it was freezing out. Oh my God. I was helping on the wrath cart serve Lord Jagannath. That was the first time I used a ghee lamp, man, just to keep my fingertips from being frostbitten. And so you can't attract people to Krishna consciousness, like that. If they think, oh my God, these guys are out here, in the freezing cold and, or in the burning hot, how am I going to bring my kids or my mother or, anybody, how's anybody going to show up, if it's 105 degrees out, like, so, I mean, I respect the king. He's definitely a wonderful devotee, far more advanced than me. I mean, born in the family of Maharaj Pachaparudra, and all these principles we do try to follow, to the best of our abilities. But at the same time, we have to take into consideration our preaching. We're doing this specifically to, invoke an interest in the general public and, an appreciation for not only Lord Jagannath, but also for the devotees. I mean, we can't be, it's like my Guru Maharaj tells the story about the devotees going out on Harinam and everybody's wearing different colored socks. I mean, we can be transcendental, but at a certain point, if we're ever hoping to, become part of mainstream society and gain the love and respect of the general public, we have to do things, sensitive to, their needs and the situation, the time, place, and circumstance that we're, within. So that would be my humble advice. Don't tell the king I said that. But certainly they do a great job celebrating Ratha Yatra. But the Indian people, and they are just like, My friends went to the Ratha Yatra a couple years ago before COVID. They told me they went 3 days before the festival. The crowd was so big, they were in Bhubaneswar and they couldn't even move. Their bodies were squeezed between, that's like 10 miles away from Jagannath Puri. You know, but Indians seem to have this resilience, you know, like I remember when I first went to Mayapur, it was the monsoon season, and it had rained so bad, the Ganges River had overflown the dam, the Bhakti Siddhanta Road, which is kind of like a dam, and Mayapur was totally flooded. And by that time, the water was like up to your waist, and was already in the temple room and everything. And you know, we were up on the second floor. I was with my Guru Maharaj, and we were watching, you know, like Indian women and coming, you know, bringing like flowers and things to Radha Madhava, and they were wading in water up to their waists, you know, and there's definitely snakes, cobras, all kinds of stuff in that water. And he said, you'll never see this in America. He said, these people have such a natural devotion for Krishna. They'll just walk right through the water, right up to their waist, just to come and see the deities and make an offering. So, you know, that's why the, you know, Krishna appeared in India, or like Lord Chaitanya appeared in Mayapur, because the culture is just very advanced. I mean, it's just uniquely advanced. It's something that, you know, Westerners have no comprehension of, you know, but our job is to welcome them and to try to, you know, create a situation that's congenial for all of us, you know, to practice Krishna consciousness. So that would be my humble advice, you know, and then we can always pray to Lord Jagannath, you know, as offenders, and ask him to forgive us, and somehow or other, you know, let us go on in our spiritual life. You know, there's all these beautiful prayers to the Lord like that. So, you know, what the king is really indicating is we should always be very humble before, you know, the instructions and of the Lord and his devotees, which is always good for us. That's awesome. We should take away from that for sure, you know. Anything else?
I'd like to ask, Bhagavan Narad is doing a Ratha Yatra in San Antonio. What is the date for that, Boo?
Actually, it's July 16th. And it wasn't because the king told us to do that. It just worked out that way. But it's around, I think the exact day is in Puri, or maybe 1 week after, something like that. July 16th.
See, you got the king's blessings.
Yes, very good. Everybody's invited. Please come.
Okay, well, wonderful. You know, that's all we're
Tom, can you say something about, you were the Pujari in Dallas, you've done so much Pujari work. Can you say something about the Dallas Ratha Yatra and the tradition in Dallas?
What's that? I'm sorry. I my GPS talked over you. I was trying to turn it off.
Just real briefly, you could say something as a Pujari in Dallas. Can you say something about the Dallas Ratha Yatra and when it
What
began?
the devotees are doing now at Clydeborne Park is just phenomenal, you guys. I mean, it's just a beautiful festival. Tell your family and friends and come on out. You know, it's just wonderful. The festival itself, the kirtan, the deities, the entertainment, if you want to call it that. I mean, everything, the association, the prasadam. You can't really ask for a nicer, you know, event and that you can wake up the next day from and feel like totally refreshed. You know, I'm just saying that with kind of a Westerner's twist on it. You know, most events that are put on by the public, you know, in public, you know, you wake up the next day and it's like your life is devastated. You know, these spiritual events like this Ratha Yatra is the greatest for us to, experience the happiness of spiritual life without sense gratification mixed into it. So, but it's such a colorful and sweet event. It just brings the best out of everyone, the Lord included. So please come.
Thank you so much, Narottam.
We have put the details of the festival in the chat, so if you are in the area, please don't miss it. And we would like to thank you again, Prabhu, for coming. All glories to you and your service. We are so fortunate to have heard from you, and we hope to have you back again really soon. Safe travels.
I'm totally at your service. I'm like a big cow over here. I'm actually almost as fat as a cow now too. But if you need me, you can just call me up and milk me.
We certainly will, for sure. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Hare Krishna, safe travels, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Mataji. It's really nice to have your association, and thank all of you. So kind of you to give me a chance to talk about Lord Jagannath.
Thank you, and please come back again really soon. Hare Krishna, have a wonderful time
Okay.
tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Thank you.
Haribol. Jai Jagannath.
Jai. Please check out WhatsApp for upcoming speakers, and we'll see you again at Simply Wonderful Fridays. Hare Krishna.